Let's get out to some slow cooker shenanigans. What do you say? First, we're going to start with some Brussels sprouts and some balsamic vinegar. We've already washed and trimmed these sprouts, and now we're just going to cover them a little bit with the vinegar. Give them a good shake, all right? Make sure everything's really well coated down in there. Next up, a splash of olive oil. Just a drizzle will do it in the same shake, all right? We want to make sure that we cover those with the oil and the vinegar just as best as we possibly can. This is going to make for a very important ingredient just a little bit down the line in our crock pot fantastic that we got coming up today. We've chopped up some fresh veg today. We got some potato, some white onion, and some red and orange pepper ready to go into our crock pot. Make sure you spray this really well before we get started, okay? Some Pam or some oil spray, just to make sure nothing that goes in there is going to get stuck to the sides while we're slow cooking, all right? Wonderful. First, we're going to put in our potatoes. Make sure that they cover the bottom really, really well. That's the base of basically the entire dish. Next up is our onions. These are going to get nice and tender while they cook. So they're our next one. They're our next layer in here. Again, make sure you got good coverage on the bottom. Third up is going to be those peppers. They tend to keep a little bit more of their firmness while we cook, so they go in next. Now here comes all of those beautiful Brussels sprouts. Now you'll see why I didn't put a whole lot of oil or vinegar in them, because the whole thing is going right into the cooker, okay? Beautiful. Now we've got probably my favorite part of the chicken. This is the thigh meat. It's just a little bit fattier, a little bit darker meat, and it cooks up so tender. So we're just going to put 5 of those right down in there. And then the next thing we're going to be doing is just make sure we got it all covered with some water. Please make sure you use like 2 to 3 cups of water just until it gets to the very bottom of the chicken. Don't want to put too much in there because we don't want the whole thing turning into pudding, you know what I mean? Next up, a little bit of minced garlic is going to make this so nice. Now, the recipe only called for 2 of these, but I'm putting a little bit on top of each one of these thighs just because I love it. It gives a whole lot of flavor, and quite frankly, it's just one of those tastes that I really enjoy. So we're going to go just a little bit overboard by some palates, but just right by mine. Next up, an entire bottle of beer. Just a regular old bottle of beer. Put it in there. Now, we use Yuengling because that is the oldest brewer in the United States of America. And we just, honestly, we love the taste of it, especially whenever it cooks out. Here's a little bit of lemon juice. You can use fresh or bottled, however you like it. And then we use our black pepper. Just a few grinds to taste. Just like depending if there was a waiter at the table. You just let it grind until your heart stops him. You know what I mean? Perfect. Whew. Yes, please. Now then, a little bit of this rub. Now, y'all know I love it, and I've put the link up 100 times in these recipes, so if you want to try some of it too. Now, some of y'all been talking to me about salt. If that's a concern, you might want to skip that step. 4 hours later, and this is what you can look forward to eating. Golly, it smells amazing. Not to mention the fact it is just as tender as the day is long, and those vegetables are perfectly cooked. Barely takes any kind of knife in at all. All you need's a fork, and it'll come apart right there. Whew, eat up.